You got this, Peg.
You got this. I think we can start admitting everyone and then probably broadcasting on Facebook Live, if that's okay with you guys. And then we'll just kind of give it a little countdown. Okay.
Ready. We do like a 5, 4.
Yeah, you got it. That's right. Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to start.
3. That's right.
I'm going to start admitting people now.
Okay.
Sure. Courtney, am I breaking up at all on your end?
Nope.
Okay, good. Right, some people coming in. Welcome to everybody.
All right. We are just getting started here as we are admitting people to our live Zoom, which is going to be live here. And we'll just wait a couple minutes, I think, while people are flowing in. We're going to be going live on Facebook momentarily and on YouTube and all of these great places for our investment session seminar. So we'll just wait a couple of minutes before we get started. And then I will wait for my to give us the thumbs up. Okay. I think we are all in. So there we go. Okay, great. Thank you so much to everyone who has tuned in for tonight's investment session seminar. And we're so excited to have you. And I think we're going to go ahead and take it away. So thanks for tuning in for everyone who has joined us. All right, so my name is Courtney Power Stoneman. I'm a sales representative with the Peggy Hill team. And of course, I am joined by our very favorite people in the industry, Mr. Nick Leclier, who is the CEO and principal broker at Mortgage Wellness. Hey, Nick.
Hey, Courtney, how are you?
Good, how are you?
So excited. This is going to be great.
Good. It's going to be so good. So much good information that we have here. So I'm really excited to jump in. And then, of course, we have the wonderful Peggy Hill, who is our CEO and boss lady over at the Peggy Hill team. So that is who we are. And thank you so much for tuning in. At any time, guys, feel free to jump in the chat. We've got someone monitoring the question. So never hesitate to type something in there. And if we can't answer it on the live, we'll definitely make sure that we answer those questions later on. So we're going to go through our agenda now for tonight to see what it is that we are going to get up to. So of course, welcome to everyone. And if you are not already on mute, I think everyone is. That's great. We've been doing these Zooms for a while now. And we're going to go through quite a bit of information. So we've got market statistics and updates with Peggy Hill. We've got 3 featured listings that have already been sold, but to show you what list price for sold price looks like, a whole, good amount of information on investment properties, what that looks like. Then, of course, a question and answer period towards the end. So first and foremost, we're going to just jump right in. So Peggy, I think it's you. We're going to start with you and your market statistics and a little bit of an update. So Peg, take it away. We always love hearing from you.
And Peggy, I'll just stop my share. You can go ahead and share your screen if you like, if you have any stats or anything that you want to share. Does that work okay for you?
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, that's great.
Perfect.
Let's see. I'm trying to open a desktop that doesn't have a lot of tabs open.
We can see it.
I get into a lot of trouble by a lot of people that I am a tab fanatic.
You are.
I opened a new incognito window, so no.
I love it. I love it.
So I wanted to share with you the stats. So we get weekly breakdowns right now, which is great. I love these weekly breakdowns because this market changes so quickly, so drastically, and every week is a different show. So if you're looking to my left, hopefully it's my left, you can see the the weeks over week for March. So the first week of March, the average sale price was up 43%. New listing.
Wait, sorry, go back. The average sale price was up how much?
43% since
Holy smokes.
2020. Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely something that deserves some attention. So a
Sure.
lot of what we're going to be chatting about tonight in our feature sold listings as well is like historical, right? Like I'm going to show what, you know, some of these people bought these homes for in the 90s, the 2000s, and that sort of thing. But look at this. We're talking about just like 1 year there, right, Peggy?
1 year. So 2020
crazy.
versus 2021. So you can see, and I mean, those are not the numbers we were used to, because right next to them, you can see 2019 over 2020. So we were used to an average sale price going up 8%, 3%. We certainly were not used to 43%, 40%, 34% the third week of March, 45 the fourth week of March, and overall with 41%. But what I really want to show you is that I also have February stats. And
Wow.
I said weeks ago that our market peaked, and I truly believe that. Because first week of February, we were up 37%. Second week of February, we were up 50.4%. We've never been that high, ever, ever, ever.
Wow.
So we've never seen an increase like that, and we never saw it again. That's when it peaked. As you can see it now, historically, it peaked the second week of February, and not that 40% and 45% is shabby, but it's no 50%. So it did peak, but we're still getting incredible numbers. And the one thing that's encouraging about this market is, I know a lot of people remember 2017 when we saw crazy prices. And in 2017, we went straight up. It's not the same this time. We keep going up, and then we plateau for a bit, and then we go up, and then we plateau. So when a stock or a price of a house or anything plateaus a little, it builds a resistance. So the next time it comes down, it has to bypass that resistance. So it's a good thing that we're building plateaus. And I know a lot of people talk about the market dropping and falling, and, you know, the prices are going to, you know, change, and they probably will. I mean, nothing goes straight up, but it's got to give you some comfort that we keep building new plateaus. I think the worst case scenario, if things were to shift, and the only way that they're going to shift is if they lock us up totally and never let any of us out of the house, which I hear is a possibility, or the interest rates go up. One of those two factors could change these numbers. However, I don't see either one of those on the horizon now. Nick would probably be able to speak to the interest rates. Do you see the rising interest rates, Nick?
You know, no, and you and I have been chatting about this. Like, you know, the only thing that's going to really, like, not stop the market, not slow the market, but like, I mean, decrease the market is like some sort of severe government intervention. I don't, and you said like lock us up forever. I mean, I think it's going to go beyond that. I should correct myself. Sorry. It has to go beyond that to see any sort of decrease. I mean, everybody thought that 2017 wasn't sustainable. I mean, that was a year-long conversation that 2017 prices were just too high. 2021 prices surpassed 2017 prices, not by a little bit, by a lot. So this is, you know, what we call that new plateau, as you mentioned, right? Like, this is the price now. We're not going down. We may not be going up at 50%, you know, year over year, but if anybody that's watched these presentations before knows that Peggy and I, when we do our numbers, and you'll see that in our presentation tonight, we predict a 3% appreciation every year. Like, and you know, off the record, Peggy and I are like, you know, Peg, should I use 3%? And you're like, maybe you should use 2% to be safe. And here we are talking about 50%, you know? So even if we were talking about 7 or 8%, that would be fine. In terms of appreciation. But how much is interest rates going to influence that? Well, interest rates in the ones are still very possible. You know, I had a client that just renewed with their existing lender 2 days ago. They got a 1-year variable. They just weren't sure quite what they were going to do over the next 12 months, Peggy. They got a 1-year variable rate at 0.99%.
Wow.
So, you know, the question is then, if rates go to 3% and they're currently 2%, is that going to matter? Is that going to, slow the housing market? No. If it goes to 3.5%, is that going to slow the housing market? Probably not. Again, going back to 2008, interest rates were like 5.99% for a AAA borrower for for a long time, for like a couple of years, right? So interest rates would have to not just change slightly, not change moderately, but change like in a huge way. And even if we talked about doubling, a 2.5% interest rate to 5%, which would never happen, we're still less than we were a decade ago, right? So ultimately, we're still in good shape.
So my only variable, and this is why I believe that prices won't sustain. I mean, they will. I don't have I'm not the sky is falling kind of girl. I do believe that prices will come down at some point. And I believe the prices will come down once everybody's immunized, once things go back to the way we used to live, once people start being let out of their homes. I do believe there's going to be a lot of spending, and with spending comes inflation, and with inflation comes rising rates. And I don't think you can avoid that. And the reason I say that is because I try to listen to the US more than I do to Canada, because we seem to be a lagging indicator of everything that's going on, where they're a leading indicator. Because they're so far ahead with the vaccine, we can kind of see what they're doing and how their markets are being affected. Yeah. Their markets are not being affected. Their real estate markets, it's crazy. There's no inventory there either. So nothing's slowed down, but they have, for the first time in well over a year, started talking about inflation and the rising rates. I mean, that's got to happen at some point.
Very interesting.
At some point,
very interesting.
That has to happen. You can only buy your way into low rates for a certain amount of time.
It can't happen. Yeah, it can't happen forever. You're right.
Can you speak on one more thing? I just want to show you guys. I know you can still see my screen. So there's two lines here. One is Simcoe County. The other one is Barrie. This is months of inventory. So the months of inventory for Barrie is 0.6. It's actually less than that. It goes till the end of March. And then for Simcoe County as a whole, which is ridiculous, is 0.04. So it's less than a month of inventory. It's still a very strong seller's market, very, very strong seller's market. I don't know how much longer we stay in this kind of crazy territory, because this is crazy territory. This is emergency. Get your houses on the market, because we're never going to see these things for a long, long time. But it's still under a month. We need to get to 3 months to get a balanced market. So it's still under a month.
Yeah.
But Nick, can you speak on one more thing? I want to stop there, and I want you to speak on one thing.
Yep.
Because I have heard, I hear a lot of people talking about that the government is changing the rates. And I know the government is not changing the rates. They're changing the stress test. And personally, before you tell everybody, I'll tell you what I think, because I like to.
Okay, sure.
I think the government is desperate to try and tell us something to try and get this market to cool off a little. And they've decided to talk about the 30-year AM and the stress test. Can you tell me how insignificant is it? Fake news, Nick? It's fake news.
Yeah, I posted a 2-minute video on this yesterday. You can check it out on the Mortgage Wellness Facebook page or on YouTube. It's and it's on my personal page as well. Actually got a lot of attention because it was just really real. I mean, like, the stress test is already here, right? Like it's been here for 5 years now almost. And when the stress test was initially introduced, it decreased affordability by 20%. Brought a $600,000 buyer to a $500,000 buyer, brought a $500,000 buyer to a $400,000 buyer. So, people like Courtney, who had a whole list of buyers, running around, putting offers on homes, 12-hour days, we had to say, stop, put your car in reverse, bring all your buyers back to Mortgage Wellness, because they all need to be requalified. But did it rebalance the market? Did it really? I mean, the stress test was introduced in 16, and then the market went nuts in 17, right? So, fast forward, they've adjusted the stress test. So this isn't a brand new thing. I had somebody call me yesterday and say, I found a house. It's not really the one I want, but I know I need to buy it before the new rules take effect. No, that is wrong. Nobody should be saying that. The new stress test affects only those with 20% down, which is like 3 categories of people. Those that are, selling and buying for the most part, right? They're going to have 20% down. Real estate investors need 20% down. And those refinancing need 20% down. Now there's another category, which is those buying over $1 million, but that's less common in our market, of course, right? So, all they did was those with less than 20% down could qualify at the current stress test, right? So, less than 20% down, first time home buyers, 5% downs, that sort of thing. 4.79, 25-year amortization. Now, Courtney sells her home and buys a new home and puts 20% down. She can qualify at the same 4.79, right? But 30 years. So the policymakers looked at this and said, wait, one category can do this and the other category it's easier for. We need to level out this playing field a little bit. So let's increase the rate that these people have to qualify at so that it's the same qualification numbers. That's all it is. It's a 4% reduction in affordability. So as long as you're working with someone who didn't, quote you at the very top of your budget, you're fine. As long as you're not buying at the very top of your budget, you're fine. And as long as you're not trying to overspend, like, I tell somebody that they're good for 900,000, they come back and say, can I go to 950? That's not the, this new rule change will affect that buyer. Generally speaking, we are not going to see a 4% reduction in prices because of this. No. It means that the person that qualified for $1 million is 960. Yes, it absolutely means that anybody that's buying a home with 20% down should speak to their mortgage broker or mortgage specialist just to make sure that the rule doesn't affect them. But let's get over the fake news because everybody should do their due diligence, make sure that the rules don't affect you, and let's move on. Because there's a lot of really great positive things to focus on rather than this, for example.
Totally. Thank you.
Okay.
And we did get a quick comment on Facebook about, we need more inventory, but where do the sellers go when prices are so crazy? And I definitely experienced that as an agent myself. So is there any, quick words of wisdom we can give to those people that are concerned about where do I go or what do I do?
I think this is a great market for specific buyers, or sellers. I think this is a great market for a last time seller. I think a last time seller cashing out right now has got it made in the shade. I think it's good for people that are relocating. I don't think you should sell your home for the sake of selling your home. That's not what this is about, because you're going to have to buy one. But if you're moving out of town, if you're changing locations, if you're going to a different market, this is a great market to capitalize on the equity that you've built. And that's really my take on it.
And Peggy, there's something else to be said as well. You and I chatted about this personally. Like for my personal situation, I said, I have a rental property. I've made a ton of money on it. And there's an opportunity for my family's life to be changed by taking advantage of this market. I can sell this home and virtually pay off my mortgage, my personal mortgage, which is going to significantly decrease my output. And then I can start, my daughters are going to be 11. Like I, start putting away for her university and those sort of things, right? Like redirect that money somewhere else. So if you can positively impact your personal life by divesting of investment real estate right now, or cottages or condos or anything right now, those are very safe sales for sellers. It's not always just a primary residence. This is, I saw one of your agents posted in the last couple of weeks about, sellers that had a really emotional sale. It was like, it must have been their family cottage or something that they'd sold after like 40 years. And that was the end of their journey, Peggy, but that was going to change their life. They're not just doing that for fun. They're selling the cottage. They're going to maybe start a living will. They're going to give living inheritances. They're going to pay off their own mortgage. They're going to go travel. There is absolutely a way for you to impact your own personal life by maybe divesting of investment real estate right now. And a lot of the sales that are happening in this market are rental properties, right, Peggy?
Unfortunately so. And I'm only saying that because
I know.
Renters,
there's another side to this, right?
The renters are feeling it. If you guys thought that it was really hard to buy a house in Barrie, try renting one. It's literally impossible. And I get taking money off the table. I mean, it's fiscally responsible to cash in on an investment when it's made you a ton of money. I get that all day long. However, this is still an incredible market to invest in. You know, I don't care what the prices are at. We're cash flowing all day long because the rental market in Barrie is incredible. It is probably one of the hottest rental markets on the planet. I mean, we're talking Vancouver, Barrie, like that's insane. Like Vancouver and Barrie should never be on any.
No, Vancouver and Barrie should never be on any.
No. And you know, Peggy and Courtney, the three of us were talking before the seminar, like, you know, I have these little apartments downtown beside my office, you know, 1-bedroom apartments that are being rented for $1,700 a month right now.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of really good, really fantastic rental prices. You know, in Barrie, I just listed back in February, you know, a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit in a legal fourplex. We had 5 offers for 5 different people that were looking to rent.
And
you know,
qualified people. They were qualified.
Yes. Qualified people. So switching gears here, because I got to keep you two on track or you'll just
thank you.
That's what I'm here for. But we're going to talk about 3 featured sold listings. So these are all listings that have sold recently in our market. And we're going to talk about things like list price versus sale price and original price. And this is where, Nick, you're going to jump in and give us all the details and information that we need.
You got it. And Peggy, you had a great segue there because, you know, with every one of these rental properties being sold, there's a couple of myths to bust here. I mean, okay, let's be very clear, as you mentioned, Peggy, because I don't want to brush over that. There is unfortunately a lot of tenants being displaced as a result of people selling their rental properties, right? That is absolutely a very sad thing for sure.
And that's really why I wanted to do tonight's seminar. Aside from raising awareness, I think as somebody who works in real estate and who is responsible for placing people and displacing people, I really wanted to bring awareness to the quality of tenants that are out there and the amount of tenants that are out there, and the possibility that if you ever thought you wanted to be a landlord, this would be the perfect time, because you're going to have 5 to 10 people to 20 people offering. They're going to be offering you a year's worth of rent up front. They're going to be offering you the moon. And like I said, this was an awareness thing for me. I really think it's important that investors understand that this market can still cash flow.
Absolutely. And that is going to be the focus of our next, say 5 or 6 slides here. So what we did was we took 3 featured sold listings. Now, Peggy, these are not your listings. These are just, I asked you for just great listings. Yep. And Peggy literally just said, hey, 1, 2, 3. I got, you know, we were screen sharing this morning. I said, can you pull up 3 listings that sold between 500,000 and 600,000 thereabouts? Anyway, I think a couple are over, but that's okay. We'll go through them, and are very rentable and sold in the last, you know, month sort of thing. Just go ahead and send them to me. So we picked out 3. So Peggy sent me 6. I grabbed 3. And Peggy, I'm going to go through the numbers with you. Some of these numbers I've shared with you. Some of them I have not, because I want to see your real, like, candid reaction. Courtney, you haven't seen it either, because this is really cool stuff.
Can I tell you why I didn't give you any of our own listings?
Yes.
Because we get way too much money for our sellers now. Ours don't cash flow.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So these are, you know, what we have here in the center is a fully detached home. On the left, you have a semi-detached home, and on the far right, you have a townhouse. Okay, so the rental figures that I used for these homes, and I think we'll all agree, was $2,500 for the center one. The center one I used $2,500 as well, because it had more bedrooms. And the one on the far end, I think I used $2,200. So I'll go through some of these numbers here for you. And did I pause screen sharing here? Can you see my screen? You can still see my screen. It says your screen sharing is paused. Okay. Let me just see if I can stop the share and restart the share. If you could just let me know. Yeah, we're good now, right?
Yep.
We're good? Okay, perfect. Okay, great, thank you. So 3 listings, and really the myth that we want to dispel here is we get tons of people that say, Peggy, we've heard it how many times, you can't invest in this market and still make money, right? And what we want to show is that you absolutely can, okay? So what I'm going to show is, what it listed at and what it sold at. We know that houses are selling over asking, right? Like that's a reality. This is the world that you live in right now, Courtney, right? Like every deal is over asking, multiple offers, competing offers. People are paying over asking. So what I'm going to show you is list price, sale price, but I'm going to show you some other really cool stuff. So let's start with the first one, okay? All right. This is 22 Sylvia. Now, I know this house. It's listed at, it was listed at $499,900.
Did you party there?
No, I did not party there. No. No, I'm attached professionally to this house in a way. This is not my house. It's a client's house, I believe. I think I know this address. Listed at $499,900, sold at $565,000. Now, like, Peggy, is that like, that's not crazy over asking price, right? Based on what we've seen. Courtney, maybe you can comment as well. That's not ridiculously over asking, right?
It's kind of the norm right now.
Okay, cool. So $499,000 list, $565,000 sold, originally purchased in 2011 for $213,900. Just going to pause on that for a moment.
When?
Originally purchased in 2011 for $213,900. So the appreciation on this home is $351,000 in 10 years, okay? The appreciation is more than the purchase price. You see how that works? You add the two together, you get the sale price. Like, it is crazy, right? Now, people are going to say, that bus has left, right? That train is gone. I can't get back on that train. I can't buy this house and make money. And here's what I want to show you, okay? At $565,000, as an investment property, if you put 20% down, $113,000 down, your mortgage would be $450,000, but your estimated mortgage payment would be about $1,700. I took the taxes rate from MLS, and it carries for about $1,980 a month.
And this property just sold March 24th. So this isn't historical data. This is just a couple of weeks ago.
This is in the current market. Right now, Courtney, if I said, Courtney, I just purchased this house, can you find me a tenant for $2,500 for this property? I think you could find me a tenant, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This rental market is crazy. So I use $2,500, and anybody that's watching, if you don't want me to use $2,500, I'm happy to send you the numbers at, say, $2,000. Okay, because here's what I want to show you.
But why? You're going to get at least $2,500.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So the cash flow is this number minus this number times 60 months, assuming a 5-year term. Okay. Now, the principal pay down on the mortgage is $56,000. It's $55,927. Okay. So we won't get too deep into this, but with today's interest rates, even if you take a 30-year amortization, you will pay more principal than you will pay interest, okay? Because the interest rates are so low. So you pay about $56,000 in principal without doing anything. That's without going bi-weekly. That's without making lump sums or anything else. Now, I put 3% appreciation on this. So, starting at this number right here, so today's value, 565, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3% for 5 years. That's $90,000 bucks. So Courtney, the 20% down payment is $113,000, right? If I told you you could give me $113,000 today, and in 5 years, I would hand you back the $113,000, plus in my other hand, I have $177,000 for you. Would you do that deal?
Yeah.
Absolutely, you would do that deal. So this is your 5-year return being $177,000 on top of the fact that you still have this equity, okay? Like, I really want to draw everyone's attention to that. People will say, okay, well, I put 113 in and I'm getting 177 back. No, you get your 113 back, plus you get 177, right? So this is a $177,000 return at a 3% appreciation. Now, Peggy told us that year over year, we saw a 50% appreciation in 1 year. So I think we're being pretty darn conservative here, right? Yeah. So, anybody that tells us that they can't buy in this market, I mean, really, let's look at the numbers again. Listed at $499, sold at $565, originally purchased for $213,900. This seller won, right? Like, I'm super happy for this seller. $351,000 in appreciation in 10 years. Okay. Not to mention, if this was a primary residence, this is tax-free, right? But if it was an investor that comes in to buy this home, so Peggy wants to buy this home, for example, now, Peggy's kids want to buy this home. They put 20% down as an investor. They carry for about $1,980 a month, $2,000 a month. They rent it for $2,500 in a day. Over 5 years, they make $31,000 in cash flow. The principal just pays down. This is just paying the mortgage and at a very conservative appreciation. I mean, we're talking nothing like what we're seeing in this market right now. 3%. That means if you buy the house for 500 today, it's worth 515 next year. Not you buy it for 500 today and it's worth 650 next year, right?
And it's probably been almost 20 years since we've only seen 3% appreciation.
Like, we're being so conservative in these numbers, right? This is a deal. We could all buy this home, cash flow it, make money, save for retirement, pay for kids' education, whatever you want to do. This is a deal. Okay. Example number 2. Okay. This is the detached home that I showed you in the center. Listed at $569, sold for over $600. Check out that next bullet point. Originally purchased in 1993 for $127,000. The next person that tells me that this isn't going to continue, I'm going to show them this slide, right? It has continued. Look at this trajectory over the last 28 years. You know, there are pockets, 2017, 2021, but we are not going the other way, right? I mean, 28 years later, this family made an incredible $500,000 on this house. So the new buyer is still going to make money. And let me show you how. $611,000 purchase price, 20% down. It's all going to shake out to about $2,100 a month. Again, $2,500 a month in rental income. That is $21,000 in cash flow over 5 years. And you see, like, the mortgage is a little bit higher, right? So the cash flow is a little bit lower on this place. Still 20 grand. I mean, it's great. You may even get more than $2,500. Peggy, you made a comment before the presentation that you think this house would rent in the high 2000s, right?
You'll have a lineup, $2,500. You will have a lineup of people begging you to lease this to them.
Yeah, 27, 28, $2,900 is sort of what you were thinking. So again, we've gone very conservative here. The principal pay down, that just happens. You just pay the mortgage and that's what happens. 3% appreciation every year. You make $180,000 in 5 years. I could, you know, I would almost, not quite, but I would almost go on record by saying you're going to make a lot more than that, right? This is a 3% appreciation and this is a very conservative rent. And this, most importantly, is today's numbers, right? This house just sold for $611. This, anybody could, you know, now they have to be the, you know, the winning and worthy buyer of this home. Like, they have to be the winner of the competitive offer, but anybody could buy this home, put 20% down, rent it out very quickly, wait for 5 years and make a great return on their investment. This, I mean, this is a great rental property. Look at how, like, it's turnkey, it's perfect, it's detached, and it's just going to continue to appreciate, right?
It's all brick. It's a little bit older, so the windows, the furnace, everything's been done. I mean, that's just a smart investment.
It is. And, you know, we're a little biased because Peggy, you love real estate, Courtney, you love investment real estate, and so do I, but all three of us would buy this house. There's no question, right? Yeah.
Peggy
Okay.
has money before real estate. That's why Peggy real estate.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Right. So the most money that most people will ever make is from investment real estate. That's for sure. Or real estate in general. Okay. So example number 3, I love townhouses. I'm Mr. Townhouse. They've always been very good to me. I find great tenants. There's little maintenance because there's smaller yards. There's, you know, only 2 sides of the house that I have to worry about. I make really great friends with all the neighbors. And it's just, I've always found it a very successful investment for me. So this house is on Pickett Crescent. It was listed at $499. Again, didn't sell crazy over ask, $565. Purchased in 2005 for $155. Crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
They made
people-
$410,000.
Yeah, these people, like I think Peggy, I'll just interrupt you super quickly, Nick, but these are the
Mhm.
people that are winning in this market. The people who bought in 2000, who bought in 98, who bought in 99, who bought from the builder. I just had a client on Gadwell who bought from the builder 21 years ago and made incredible money and was able to upsize. So, I mean, that's the buyer, the last seller, like the last sale that they're going to make. These are the people that are winning in this market.
Really,
Yeah.
Court? Really? Because
Mhm.
I beg to differ.
Tell me.
They're not the only ones winning in this market. I'd like to show you something. Can I share for 1 sec?
Oh, we're just flying. I like it. Go for it.
Absolutely.
I need
Yeah.
to show you.
Yeah,
I
go
can
ahead.
at
I'm
all.
sharing now. I'm sharing now.
But Courtney, you sold that house on Gadwall. I think I saw that one. It was $610,000, I think, right?
610,500. Yeah.
Okay, Court.
Okay. Well, okay. Sorry. These were
Okay.
also my clients.
Okay. So guys, look at this. So these first-time buyers bought this townhouse last year. Let me see the date. Oh, yes, January 2020.
Yeah.
And at the time, I mean, they hesitated. It was a lot of money, 460,000. They had to pay over list. They had to fight to get it. And that was January 2020, pre-COVID.
There were still 4 offers on the property at the time.
Exactly. So now, fast forward, sold it. Oh, I'm sorry.
And Courtney, you said there was 4 offers on it at the time when they bought it in 2020, when they bought it a year ago.
My clients bought it a year ago in February of 2020 at
Awesome.
460,000
Yeah.
when we bought it. And when we bought it, there were 4 offers. And
This is so good.
yeah, so
Yeah.
And then when did we sell it, Courtney?
then we sold it
Oh, February
February.
21st.
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 Which was like right when the market peaked. So honestly, it was just the best possible timing for them. And 711. So in a year, I can't even do math that quickly because I use calculators. But in a year, but that was, I think, more luck than anything, because I don't quote me. I mean, but I don't believe that this 50% year over year is a sustainable year over year.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
But they were already planning
we're
to
here.
sell, I think, though,
we're
right?
here.
Yes.
Guys, it may not be sustainable, but it doesn't matter because we're here. We're here
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I
Yeah.
think the winners in this, the true winners in this market, are the people that bought freaking 18 months ago and are turning around and selling for 60% more than what they bought for. I
Yeah.
mean, people that have owned the places since 98 have had to put maintenance costs into it. They've had to put, these people didn't put anything into it. What they put into it, a welcome mat?
No, they literally did nothing. They painted and
Okay.
they bought a new washer dryer, but then they wanted to take it with them. So they did.
And were they, were they already planning to buy, Courtney? Like they were planning to sell and buy already, or was it the market that really got them excited to be like, okay, now's the time?
It was the market. It
Courtney
Yeah.
kept calling them. Courtney kept calling
I
every
did
day.
because
Yeah.
because it was just, I also, we had so many buyers for townhouses, and it was just, we just had so many buyers. So I always keep in touch with my past clients just to make sure they know what's going on. And that was it. We said Merry Christmas in December. And then next thing you know, they were calling to say, we want to take advantage. And they actually ended up moving to Aurelia, buying a detached home. And like now they've got all this money in the bank, life changing. And we bought for just under 600,000 in Aurelia. So that's the answer right there. Like people, somebody asked earlier, like what happens to the sellers? And, the 3 of us have chatted many, many times and said, you need to change. Like you need to change. You can't sell a townhouse, buy a townhouse, or sell a townhouse and buy the little one on Garden that I showed you. You need to change the category that you're buying in. You need to change the area as well. You can't just choose one. So you went from a townhouse to a detached, but you need to go from a townhouse in Barrie to a detached in Aurelia. You need to go from a detached in Aurelia to acreage in Oro or Severn. You need to go from a condo in Bradford to a townhouse in Barrie. Like you have to change the area and the category in order to really take advantage of the upswing, right? Yeah.
Or like a lot of people right now, they're just selling and moving to Nova Scotia because that is very cool. That's very,
but that is very common right now. I don't know about you guys, but we are seeing a lot of that right now. One of my staff is, I should say associates, is on the meeting with us. She just messaged me directly. She gave me the street. I'll just tell you. So like Prince William Way area, this client bought in August of 2020 for $650. And we just reappraised it, not selling it, but reappraised it because, you know, we're likely, you know, refinancing or reworking their mortgage or something like that. They bought in August 2020 for $650. We just reappraised it for $850.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
It's pretty incredible. So we have a question actually in the chat. Maybe Peggy, maybe Nick, you can continue on with your slides while Peggy, if you can find some information.
Thank you.
A question about, is there any way we can show a house that someone may have bought 5 years ago and where the prices are, you know, that may have sold this year, but was purchased 5 years ago?
Yeah, and you know, Peggy, you can. I'll keep on going through these numbers. If you can find something, that's great. For the person that wrote that comment, that's a really, really great question. Here is the awesome information that's tied to that. They can reach out to you guys. They can reach out to us on literally any address. Sold prices, original purchase prices. Any of that information is public record. You can get it. I can get it. We can pull it up on any address you want. So, you know, if you're driving down the street and you're like, hey, I know that's my neighbor and I know they bought 5 years ago and I want to know what's up there, reach out to Courtney at peggyhill.com and she can get that information for you. She can tell you what it sold for originally, what it sold for this time, what it sold for in 1988, you know, whatever you want to see as well, if it's an address that's specific. And Peggy, I know you're going to show us stuff that's just happened in the last 5 years, for example.
Yeah, so this is the stats from the Barrie District Real Estate Board. So the orange line is Barrie and the gray line is all of Simcoe. And as you can see, the average price 5 years ago for Barrie was $344,000. For Simcoe County as a whole was $335,000. Average price today is $750,000 for Barrie and $757,000 for Simcoe. So that's what the last, and let me show you, since we're looking, I think we can go even further. We can go from 2008, and this is what the chart looks like. So
that actually moves into the second question that the same person had of it. Do you think over time that this will level off but will the prices hold? And I would even say, Peg, based on what you're showing us here, I mean, look at 2017 where we did have a similar peak and then they just leveled off and sort of stayed pretty level. There was no massive decline all the way, you know, anything too, yeah, it was steep maybe at the time when the government implemented that 16-point plan, but then they just leveled off and continued to climb. So do you think that it will level off, but the prices will hold?
The reason I'm bullish about Barrie real estate is this. We only have so much of it and everybody wants to be here. So unless, you know, something crazy, and the thing about Barrie and Simcoe County in general is that they keep adding infrastructure, they keep adding jobs. So it's not just a matter of house growth. You know, they're just not adding a bunch of houses and nobody has anywhere to work. Like everything's changing here. So as long as people still find Barrie an area attractive, you're not, and the thing is, when people come from immigration, when immigration starts back up and everybody's immigrating, they usually immigrate into Toronto. And then the people that are in Toronto get pushed out. And I mean, whether they're retiring or whether they don't want to be there any longer or whether they've seen better, but they're retiring north and people are moving north all the time. So, I mean, we've seen it in Barrie where people in Barrie are moving north because they're so, you know, it's just the way it goes. But as long as the immigration still flows into Ontario, like Barrie is going to prosper. So we can definitely tell you that, will it keep going straight up like this? No, nothing ever does. Will it come back down? Yes, absolutely. But we made a base right around last year. We made a base at around here. And even if it were to fall again and fall hard, and I don't suspect anything's falling hard, but if it were to fall hard, that's what you would, that's your really bad number right there.
Well, and that's a great point, Peggy. And that's what I was going to say as well. Like, fall to what, right? That's what everybody wants to know. Like, fall, everybody, you know, questions. Fall to what is really the question, because I'm gonna go to mine for one quick sec here and just show you here.
And I can answer, we just found a pretty quick example, and I think this was from Tammy. I can always send you that information afterwards, Tammy, if you want to shoot me an email, Courtney@Peggy Hill. But we just sold 46 Forsyth, and that's a pretty good example where they bought in July of 2006 for $399,000, and we just sold it about 3 days ago for $706,000. And that's a house of 5 years. So that's a really great example.
2016, you mean, right?
Yeah, 16.
Yes. So that's a great example. So was that a detached home, Courtney?
Semi.
It was a semi.
Is a semi. Okay. So 399 in 2016, 400,000 in 2016. Today's price, you said seven?
706.
Yeah.
That is just awesome. And you won't find that anywhere else. So, Picket Crescent, another great example. Like, you can still buy in this market and cash flow and make money. Okay. So I dropped this down to $2,200. I mean, I think what we've shown tonight is anybody buys this house and puts it up for rent at $2,200, 100 people will be lined up on the street for this beautiful house on Picket. No question. Right? We're talking families. We won't get into the barriers of home ownership tonight because we'll reserve that. There's, spoiler alert, we're going to do another first-time home buyer session. And that's where we're going to be talking about the barriers to home ownership, the biggest barrier being down payment. So, we've seen it time and time again. Let's say Courtney has a sibling who's 22 years old. She has a boyfriend. They both work full-time. Maybe they're in school. And let's just say they had, for example, an unplanned pregnancy, or they wanted to start a family, or, one of them had a job that was affected by COVID. They both, for example, have great incomes. They both have great careers. We see this all the time, like young police officers. I had clients that were both young police officers. Their first year wages are not what their fifth year wages are, for example. So those people have great income, but to save $30,000 or $40,000 for a down payment is just not happening, right? So those people make fabulous tenants. They want to live somewhere with their new family, with their new baby. They want to grow into a home, right? And the barrier is their down payment. So those people make fabulous tenants at $2,200 a month, and they will stay there for 5 years happily, right? So if you are able to find those people as tenants, my gosh, $13,000 in cash flow over 5 years, principal pay down of $60,000, a very modest appreciation of $100,000, $171,000 returned in 5 years. You give me, again, $113,000, I will give you the $113 back plus $171,000. There's money to be made in this market. That is for sure. On any one of these three houses, you could make money, a lot of money. And there's many, many, many more that we can teach you about for sure.
And they all sold in this market within the last few weeks in multiples. So we're not picking special properties here.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And if anybody has any questions about, anything that we just chatted about, any of those three feature listings, any of the numbers, the historicals, the cash flow, the numbers, just reach out, drop a comment. You can get a copy of this presentation. If you want any data on homes that have sold, you can reach out to Courtney. She's ready and willing to send anything to you guys right now, Courtney@PeggyHill.com. If you have any questions after the seminar, if you want a one-on-one, you can reach out to Peggy's team, Peggy. You can find Mortgage Wellness's information on their Trusted Partners page of their website as well. But what we're going to do next is I'm actually just going to present all about investment properties. Now, I said in 30 minutes or less, we have about 10 minutes left. So I'm going to try and rush through this here so that I don't keep anybody too long. But really what we're going to cover next is do's, don'ts, and myths. Okay, so these are the things that in 15 years of being in the mortgage business and, thousands of families helped, certainly hundreds of investors. These are the do's, don'ts, and myths that I've sort of, jotted down as the most important things to know about buying investment properties. This applies to first-time homebuyers as much as it does to investors, but where it really applies is to first-time investors, existing investors, and just anybody that just, loves real estate or is looking to get into real estate. So let's start with the don'ts, okay? Always best to start with the pessimistic view of this and work towards the optimistic, right, Courtney?
Right.
Okay, so number one, don't plan to own a total of more than 5 properties without needing extra capital or partners, okay? And that's because most banks don't want to see anybody owning more than 5 properties. Most programs, I mean, Scotiabank, TD, all of these lenders that we work with every day, they have a max of 5 properties, okay? So we have another presentation that if anybody wants to do a one-on-one with, you can reach out. It's called the Rule of 5. And the Rule of 5 says that Courtney can have her primary residence and 4 rental properties, or her primary residence, her cottage, and 3 rental properties, or her primary residence, her cottage, condo for her little sister to go to school, and 2 rental properties, okay? The Rule of 5. You want to plan for 5 properties. So if you're looking to get into investment real estate, start with the end in mind. How do we get to 5 properties? Now, not everybody wants to own 5. Some people want to own 1. But if you want to own multiple properties, you should have a clear plan to 5 and then another clear plan beyond, if that's your plan, okay? Number 2, don't plan on purchasing more than 2 properties per year. Things get very complicated, okay? So, we always have to sort of present an application to a bank, and then the bank's going to want to see that Courtney can purchase the property, rent out the property, and manage the property, that she's going to be successful at this. Now, we can sometimes do another one in that year, but banks like a slow, sustainable approach. They want to know that Courtney's going to be able to buy, rent, maybe renovate, and really sustain the expenses. Maybe 2 times a year, but not 3, okay? So let's walk before we run. Number 3, don't unnecessarily take on partners for the purchase of your investment property. We see this all the time. So we get calls a lot of the time around lunch hour where people say, hey, I'm in the site trailer with my buddy, and we're both electricians, and we want to buy an investment property together. And I'll say, great. Why? Well, we think we'd make really great business partners. Okay, no problem. So tell me about Steve. Well, Steve's handy. Okay, who has the money? Well, I have all the money. Great. So do you think you'd qualify for it on your own? Yeah. I just want to bring Steve along because he'd be good. I'm like, hey, you may not want to let friendship get in the way of business here. So unnecessarily taking on partners could get in the way of business success, growth. If we enter one of those markets, as Peggy mentioned, where we see a little bit of a dip, you don't want to have to be selling in that dip. That's for sure, right? And likewise, if we're in this huge high market, you don't want to have a partner that's like, hey, Courtney, we should sell. We should sell now. We should take all the money. We should sell. And you're like, whoa. We committed to this for 5 years. And they're saying to you, well, we're 50-50. So if I want to sell, you got to sell, right? So you don't want to unnecessarily take on partners for the purchase of your investment property.
Or for
Number
anything.
4.
Or for anything, really. Or for anything.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Number 4, don't plan to use gifted funds for your down payment. Okay, so for a rental property, you cannot use gifted funds. For your own house, you can use gifted funds. If you have questions about down payment, reach out to my team. We're experts in this, but don't plan to use gifted funds for your down payment of a rental property. And number 5, this one's super important. Don't plan to receive rent in cash if you plan on purchasing more properties. Now, originally, when, I'd say 2007, 14 years ago when I got into this business, it was all about the lease agreement. Show me the lease agreement, show me that you have rent coming in through the lease agreement. These days, they want to see the lease agreement, your tax returns, your bank statements. They want to see everything, right? So if you take on cash rents and don't report the rent, it will affect your ability to qualify for future purchases. And that's why you don't want to take cash or rent in cash. Now, you can take it physically in the form of cash, but just, don't plan on not declaring it if you plan to purchase more rental properties. Any questions on that?
Those are all really great don'ts.
They're really great don'ts.
Really great don'ts.
This is usually what gets the most amount of questions. That's why I paused there.
No, it's awesome. Yeah. It's really great. I don't think I see any questions.
I think I saw one in the chat box, but it could just be for me. So I'll take a peek at that in a second when I can.
Great info. And Peggy has great hair. Oh, wow. That's all I see.
Okay.
Too funny. Yeah, okay, so investment property dues. These are things that you do want to do. So do have your mortgage resume prepared. I can absolutely promise you that if you come to a mortgage broker, a mortgage specialist, your bank, even a realtor, it flows all the way down with all of your ducks in a row. When I say your mortgage resume, I mean your tax returns, they're labeled properly, they're named properly, they're in PDF format. I mean, I love when clients are like, hey, Courtney has shared a Google Drive with you, and it's like Courtney's tax returns and her husband's tax returns and mortgage statements and tax bills and lease agreements. You will get the attention of any mortgage broker, any mortgage specialist, any banker, any realtor if you are organized. If you don't show up for your showings and you send your mortgage broker or mortgage specialist documents that are upside down, backwards, and sent via text message and a photo, that is not having your mortgage resume prepared well, okay? So you want to have your mortgage resume prepared before you start this process. You will get the time and attention of banks, mortgage brokers, mortgage specialists, and realtors if you take this seriously and properly prepare your mortgage resume. Get your documents in order, get a plan in place, okay? I can't stress that enough. Number two, do have your down payment available before you need it, okay? So anti-money laundering laws in Canada state that you have to show your down payment, the source of your down payment, where it came from, and any large deposit in your bank account has to be accounted for. In most cases, and Courtney, you've heard me in presentations to your team say this all the time, confirming down payment is oftentimes harder to confirm than income these days. I mean, if somebody works at Honda, they give you their letter of employment and 2 pay stubs, and their income's done. But you know, their bank statements have deposits all over. They're putting money in and pulling money out of cryptocurrency investments, for example. Very tough to trace. So if you're planning for the purchase of an investment property, let's start to, you know, set that money aside, make your bank statements nice and clean. Let's plan for the purchase. Number three.
Super
Yeah,
quick.
sorry, go ahead.
Can I
Yes.
have a super quick question? We have someone asking, can a HELOC or a home equity line of credit be taken out on your primary residence? Can it be used
Absolutely.
for full down
Yes.
payment, or do you need
How I
cash?
bought everything.
Yes. Yeah. It is my most favorite strategy. And maybe I think, Peggy, we're already planning on an investment property 102, where we're going to talk about how you actually do this. But anybody in this market that currently owns a home has an opportunity to get a home equity line of credit, draw out some equity, and purchase an investment property, because investment real estate has gone up. Actually, in fact, Peggy, I know you won't mind me sharing
No,
this,
I
but
don't mind.
this is actually how Peggy and I met originally. You know, I've been knocking at her door for several years. You know, the lonely mortgage guy that was trying to get her business. Now we're best friends. But you know, I remember that one of the first deals that she gave me was her own. And Peggy had taken a home equity line of credit on her primary residence to buy a triplex and a fourplex, you know, downtown-ish Barrie sort of thing. And all of the down payment had come from her home equity line of credit. And 5 years later, when I met her, she said, do you think we could like reappraise those houses, draw up the mortgage on them, and pay the line of credit back? And to the dollar, we refinanced those houses and paid 100% of the home equity line of credit back, meaning she drew her down payment. We waited for the apartments to increase in value. We refinanced those. We paid off her house. That is a textbook how it's done.
And while you're waiting, the interest you're paying on that line of credit is tax deductible. That's
Yeah.
the only thing that's tax deductible. You can't deduct your mortgage. You can, however, deduct the interest payments for a rental property.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, what's really special about that as well is, like, I mean, if we couldn't have done that, if the market didn't work in a way that we couldn't have done that, Peggy, you wouldn't have cared. You would have just said, hey, you know what? Like, let's leave it there then. Like, it's okay. Let's just go ahead and leave it. You
It
know,
was tax deductible, so it
That's
wasn't
it.
like it was costing me anything. It cost me nothing. My rental properties were free, and that's
Yeah.
why I am so obsessed with doing these seminars, because I'd never had rental properties. I could barely afford my own property, but the only way I got them was using my line of credit and the money that I had in my home in order to make wealth.
Yeah.
So
you got it.
that's it. That's how it works.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly. So do expect to pay more. And really savvy investors and my favorite clients understand this explicitly. Okay. When I say expect to pay more, I'm not talking about the price of the house. We already covered that. The interest rate will be more. The appraisal will be more. The legal fees will be more. Everything will be more expensive because of investment real estate. Okay. So the interest rate is more. The down payment is higher than if you were just buying your own home, for example. The legal fees are a little bit more because it's an investment property. So there's extra work that needs to be done. There's some things called like assignment of rents, which means If a borrower defaults on their mortgage, the bank wants to know that they can take over the rent. Okay.
Tax deductible. They're all
Yeah,
tax.
these are all tax deductible. And these are why Peggy and Courtney and people like Peggy and Courtney are my favorite clients, because they're like, hey, whatever it takes to get into the investment, right? The most successful investors that I've spoken to, especially in this town, say they never focused on the fine details of the deal. They always focused on the big details. Stuff like, let me go back a couple slides here. Let me show you something. Stuff like this. Do you think that an investor, if they knew that they could have purchased this home for $155,000 in 2015 and sold it in 2021 for $565,000, do you think they cared if their appraisal was $50 more because it was an investment property? No, they didn't, right? They focused on the big pieces of the deal, right? The big gains that they were gonna achieve through this investment real estate, right? So you have to expect to pay more, not drastically more, not twice as much. The interest rate, in fact, that I used to calculate those numbers was 2.25%. It's pretty darn good, I'd say, right? So number 4, do you expect to have 20% down? Okay, to buy investment real estate, you absolutely need 20% down. Now, there's some specialty programs as well, where if you're purchasing a home for immediate family or a cottage or something like that, there's some caveats, but generally speaking, for investment real estate, you need 20% down. And then number one thing that I want to sort of emphasize from this slide as well, do budget for maintenance, vacancy, and repairs. Now, I did not, full disclosure, budget for maintenance, vacancy, and repairs in the numbers that we covered, okay? Because I just wanted to show the high level opportunity, but I also used very conservative rents. I used no rental increases over 5 years. There's a lot of things that I didn't account for, both positives and negatives. But, when you do the numbers, make sure you budget for maintenance, vacancy, and repairs. And I can help you do that. The numbers that I showed you guys, Courtney, with your clients that you sent to us, Peggy, your clients that you sent to us, we CC you on a lot of these emails. You see the full budget that we break down for clients. Hey, this is where you're going to win, lose, or draw on this property. So make sure that you budget for maintenance, vacancies, and repairs. If anybody wants any help with those numbers, we can help you with those for sure. And then, of course, the myths. So myth number 1, more is better. Okay, so going back to the don't slide, don't plan for more than 5 properties. Now, if I go back to 2007, I used to get a phone call and somebody would say, hey, I own 20 properties. Can you help me? And we would be like, okay, let's sharpen our pencil and get into this, right? Roll up our sleeves and let's go, right? Now, if somebody said, I own 20 properties, we'd be like, oh, geez, okay, let's book 2 hours to talk about this instead of 30 minutes sort of thing, right? Like, more is not better. And especially like we're seeing a lot of people that are going really north to start to look for their investments again. Beyond Sudbury, because they can get more properties, more units, more cash flow. More is not always better, okay? For the simple investor, a great little townhouse at $565,000 that you're going to get great return on is a perfect investment. More is not always better. And that flows into the second point where cheaper is not always better either. Okay. So, Courtney, I'm sure a lot of your conversations with investors begin with, can I go look at that $300,000 house in Midland that says needs work? And where it ends is the house on Pickett where they go, you know what? We should have just bought this to begin with. $565,000 townhouse where we're going to have a lineup of tenants. We're going to get a great family. They're going to rent for 5 years. We're going to make $200,000 on our $100,000 investment. This is just wonderful. So cheaper is not always better, right? We know that.
Not always better. Absolutely. And I think that I always used to be very intimidated by the word by investor. Like you had to be someone who had all of these houses and all of this money. But I mean, I'm an investor. I only own one property, my primary, and then one rental property.
That's right.
I would consider myself an investor, and that's not out of reach for someone who either wants to get into the market as a first-time buyer who can maybe rent out their basement and then move on and buy another one down the road. So it's not, it seems really intimidating, but investors
one house.
Are just one house.
One house. Yeah. All it takes is one house,
I agree. I think that single family for a first is a really good place to start to get your feet wet. And
Absolutely.
it's the only money in Canada that you're going to make while you sleep. That's
Yep.
all I have to say.
Yeah, exactly. And that single house, like we have another seminar that we often host for clients, and it's called Just One Property. And the concept of just one property is, those who work for Hydro One, who are police officers, who are teachers, government employees with pensions, we know the value of those pensions, when they hit retirement, $1 million sort of thing. And that's really great. If they buy one house at the start of their career, right at the start of their career, and rent it out for the length of their employment, that 20 or 30 years, they should double the value of their pension. They buy a house today, it should go up by the same amount as their pension over the course of 30 years, right? So just one house is all somebody needs, really. I mean, certainly we can help you with 2 or 3 or 4, and like I mentioned, up to 5, but
Start with one.
Start with one. Yep, start with one good single family investment. Exactly. Myth number 3, if I have a 20% down payment, it will be easy. I really want to emphasize that a 20% down payment is the ticket to entry. It gets you in the door, right? You need 20% to play in this arena, but most people have that. Actually, I would go as far as saying almost everybody has that available in their house through a home equity line of credit, like we just mentioned. Myth number 4, title should always be placed in a holding company. There's very specific reasons and very specific circumstances of when somebody would want to hold title in a holding company. Typically, and generally speaking, not giving tax advice, but if somebody owns one property and only ever expects to own one property, they should maybe consider putting it in their personal name and not in the name of the holding company. And, probably the best one of all of the slides is the myth is that you can own enough houses to retire. Now, in all of my years, in all of my clients, we've done this like 4,368 times. I wish I knew the exact number, but we've seen this in 2 occasions where somebody only, they were what we would deem a professional investor, right? They just do properties. They just do real estate. And I'll tell you, Courtney, Peggy, myself, we work a lot of hours. These folks, these 2 folks that I'm referring to, I think work more hours than us because they're 1/3 property manager collecting rents and dealing with issues. They are 1/3 handyman or handywoman caulking windows and replacing bathtubs and everything else. I mean, they own like literally a small village of real estate, and they are 1/3 real estate investor where they're actually doing the math and cashing the checks and that sort of thing. So, the myth that you can own enough houses to retire, I think it is possible, but the notion of owning enough houses to retire and not having to do any of the work, I think is a myth. So there's good 5 myths, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. We did have one really quick question, which I think maybe if the person who asked this question on Facebook wants to reach out to, Nick at mortgagewellness.ca, it was, for a cottage, typically what do you need to put down? And I know there's a whole lot of factors in regards to where it is, and cottages may be another seminar. It is.
It's already lined up. Spoiler alert on that one as well. We have, I think, 4 lined up, and one of them is cottages. So cottages are one of my very favorite things. I just posted a video to YouTube that you can check out as well. It's really cool. It's the 3 things to check out when purchasing a cottage. Spoiler, I'll tell you right now, you can finance an island, which a lot of people don't know. You definitely want a septic system, a flushable toilet, no outhouses, no compost toilets. You definitely want hydro. A lot of people ask about like solar off the grid. It's very popular right now, for example. And you want to stay away from that. Banks don't like that. But to answer the question in long form, you can buy a cottage with 5% down. That is absolutely possible. You can buy a cottage with 5% down. So 5% down is possible if it's like a house on a lake, is usually what I like to say. So, if it's let's say a cabin on an island, you could buy that with 10% down. So to answer the question, you could buy with as little as 5% down. And if it's like cabin on an island, like no heat source, lake water, you can still finance it but with 10% down. So I love chatting about cottages because I get to dispel all the myths. Like people think it's not possible if I have to travel there by boat. It's not possible if it's 600 square feet and on pillars. It's not possible if it's, you know, 2-season, for example. It's absolutely possible. So cottages start at 5% down. There's a whole bunch of criteria involved, but absolutely, if that person wants to reach out to me at nick@mortgagewellness.ca, we are cottage pros for sure. We do a ton of them, being in this area and being so connected to cottage country, that I could definitely give them some great info.
I think the biggest problem with cottages right now is there are none for sale.
That's right. That's right.
Don't have one.
So if you have
That's
a cottage
right.
and you want to sell it, there are buyers.
There absolutely are buyers. Yeah, I have a cottage, and you know, often I'll just sort of draw in the map around the cottage as well, and just see what else is kind of like available there. There's never anything, you know, there's never anything. And there's really expensive stuff, but
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder, you know, like the $300,000 island cottage, you know, what are those worth now? Who knows?
Who
right?
knows? For
They're
sure.
very, very, very hot commodities right now.
Courtney, did you know Nick had a cottage? Because I don't believe I ever got an invite.
I'm not much of a cottage guy myself,
Oh my
actually.
goodness.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
no idea Nick had a
Yeah.
cottage.
My family enjoys my cottage more than I do. So yeah.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, we're
So-
just about over here now. So thank you for everyone for tuning in. Are there any last minute questions? You have, you know, 2 fantastic resources if you're tuning in live on Facebook. If you are here, you know, on our live Zoom, now's your chance. We had some really great questions. So thank you for everyone who, you know, who did ask questions. We always love interacting, but I don't think anyone else in the background see any on Facebook or nothing in the chat. Awesome. Well, I guess that's it to wrap up our Investment Properties 101. Thank you so much for everyone who did, you know, spend an entire hour with us. I know we really appreciate it. And thank you to Nick. Thank you to Peggy. Thank you to everyone who helped. And always, please reach out to us at any time. Call the Peggy Hill team. Call the Mortgage Wellness Group. We're all here to help in any way that we can. If you have specific properties you want numbers on, if you have anything that you need, we're here to help, even if it's just to get the information that you need to make the most informed decisions. So thanks again to everyone, and we will leave it at that. And maybe next time we will see you at Investment Properties 102.
You got it. Thanks again for your time tonight, Courtney. Really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you guys. Have an awesome day or night. What time is it?
Time to go to Nick's cottage.
Yeah, time to go to Nick's cottage. Are we going to end the meeting? Is this